lovely friends, it's Margaret, and it is time to talk about what I read in the month of January. So when I look back on the month of January, it was not the most prolific reading month, but it was a really good one, despite how it started out. Read one of my, probably what will be on my worst books of the year list, like, if not number one, pretty high up there. I also read a couple of new favorites. I just had, in general, a good time with reading in January. It was a good reading month for me. I'm ready to go into February and have some fun with all of the books in February. Going into February, I mentioned this in my TBR, but February tends to be a really good reading month for me, so I don't know what that's going to look like in 2021, considering how the last couple of months have looked, but I am ready, and I am excited, and I have so many books. I'm looking at them right now that I'm excited to be reading. Oh my gosh. The first book that I read for the month of January was Diary of a Wimpy Kid by Jeff. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a middle grade contemporary, and it is about Greg as he goes through middle school. It's about making friends, it's about trying to be popular, it is about having to deal with all of the weirdness that is middle school. I don't understand the point of this book. I don't understand why it exists. I don't understand what the author was trying to do. Like, there is no plot arc, there is no character development. It's just a book about a kid who is thoroughly unpleasant and a jerk, not to everyone, but about everyone and everything. There is hardly a nice thought in his head. I don't understand it. And yes, I know it's part of a series, and so there's probably some character growth throughout the series, but this is still a book, and it needs to be able to some extent stand on its own, and it doesn't. It fell flat. It was a complete and total waste of my time reading it. I just didn't care about it. I was done. If you want more, like more in-depth, more ranting, if you want to see me go off on this book, I would suggest reading, there's a vlog. I don't remember what the vlog was for. Oh, it's the Best Friends Choose My TBR. Go check out that vlog because there are a bunch of really good books, and then this one. I don't understand what he was trying to do with this book at all. The next book I finished in the month of January was Bitter Blue by Kristen Kishore. Bitter Blue is a YA fantasy. It is the third book in the Graceling series. It follows Bitter Blue, who we meet in the first book, and it is following her as she is trying to become queen and be a good queen and figure out, how do I rule my people fairly and make sure that everyone is represented. So this is the third book in a series, and I don't want to tell you too much about what goes on because we're following characters that we know from the first book, and I don't want to spoil it too much, but at the same time, there are some things I love her characters. I guess that's what it comes down to, is I enjoy her characters, I enjoy her plots, because her plots always have some level of a girl having to overcome misogyny in order to thrive and be like who she wants to be and becoming herself. And that really speaks to me. I like narratives like that, where we see people being like, you're a woman, you shouldn't do this, or you da-da-da-da-da, and the main character going, I'm gonna do it anyways, let's go. Like, there's no reasonable reason why I shouldn't be able to do this just because I am a woman. Now, this one was a lot more subtle, I think, than the last two have been. A lot, like, just more enraging, too, because the things that are happening with the main character, she had a lot of well-meaning people around her that just, I'm sitting there going, oh, but these are red flags, honey. Like, I know they mean well, and there's all of this that's going on, but honey, they're keeping you from doing your job. You need to do your job. I also do have to say there is a character from the first series that has a complete and total glow up. I'm like, I barely even recognize you, sir. You have grown up and become mature, and you now support women. It's amazing. I'm so excited for where we see this character in book 4, because book 4 follows the main character from this, another character we meet in this, and then this character, and I'm just like, I'm actually ready to see what you have to say and what you think. I'm ready for it. She did such a good job of having twists in this story. They probably were a little obvious, but like the way that she did them, even when they're obvious twists, like the emotional impact of that twist, she managed to build up to it so it is satisfying and it still makes you go, wow, yeah! I will say there are content warnings for suicide and self-harm, so just speaking of the moments, just know that going into this. I love this series. I cannot wait to finish it. I just am ready for the final book to blow me away and bring everything together, and like, I don't even know, like, it just is good, okay guys? It's just good. My one critique is I was not a big fan of the romance. Like, I could have been, but then I found out that so, like, the only thing that saved this romantically is that we do get to see the couple from the first book in this one, and they are utterly, absolutely, just wonderfully adorable, and I love them so much. The next book that I finished in January was Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. Chain of Gold is a YA fantasy, and it follows the new generation of Herondales and all of the mess that they get themselves into because they are shadow hunters and everything is always a disaster for them. There have not been a lot of demons in London, like they've been basically non-existent for the last several months, and then all of a sudden they come back and they're demons that no one can really figure out because they're different and they're behaving differently, and so James and Lucy are having to figure out, what do we do with this? Oh my gosh, guys, this was everything I wanted it to be. I just am such a sucker for Herondales and the disastrous situations. Like, they cannot have a normal relationship, romantic relationship to save their lives. They just can't do it. It is genetically impossible, apparently, and I just love them so much. I might love these Herondales the most of all, although that is, like, saying that, we should keep in mind that I would in fact marry Will Herondale. So maybe I don't love them the most of all, but like Lucy and James more than Lucy. We didn't get as much of Lucy in this. I was expecting a lot more of Lucy, and this was mostly James and Cordelia Carstairs. They're kind of what's going on with them, and then next book is going to be Lucy's book. But I just, watching them and getting to have shadow hunters who actually have relationships with their parents, and they're good relationships, and I love this series, guys. I was going to be cool and calm and collected, and then we started talking about Herondales. This is also, let's just say, this is now a Cordelia Carstairs stan account. It is a Cordelia stan account, and also Grace Blackthorne can die. I was texting my friend while I was reading this. I mean, my friend got walls of text as I am reading this book. I literally lost my composure for the entirety of this book. I just was like texting all caps, like, oh my god, this happened. Is this gonna happen? Oh no, ha! Like, reactions, and I was texting her, and I would only ever refer to Grace as Grace Butthorn because I don't like her. I think she's terrible. I think that she is manipulative. I think that, yes, she's in a terrible situation, in a hard situation, but ma'am, some of the stuff you've done, let's not. I cannot wait for book 2. There is going to be some quality, wonderful, beautiful pining. It is going to have one of my favorite tropes, which is a fake relationship trope. Let's go! I'm ready for it. Are there any other thoughts that I have? I do think that this is a bit long. There are parts of it that I think that we could have used a slightly stronger editing hand. I understand why maybe the editors don't push her as far, because it's Cassandra Clare. And there are so many things people are wanting from this series and everything, so I understand that she's got a lot to fulfill. But at the same time, if I were her editor, I'd be like, this is about 92 pages too long. We need to cut some of this. It needs to be shorter, because there were places where I was like, I understand this is information that we should know, but does this need to be a scene? Does it need to be a scene, guys? Does it? However, I didn't really care because we're seeing stuff from the points of view of 2 of my favorite characters, so it was fine. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. There was not enough kissing in this book, and I enjoyed it, and I cannot wait for the second one, and I'm kind of glad that I waited to read this one because of the way it ends, and oh man, the second one is gonna be bad, and then I'm gonna have to wait a whole year, but I don't have a choice this time because I'm buddy reading it with a friend, and I also cannot wait to get to I'm in that phase where all I want to read is book 2, and book 2 is obviously not out yet. The next book that I finished in the month of January was I'll Be the One, whoop, there we go, by Lila Lee. I'll Be the One is a YA contemporary about Sky. She is trying to win this dance/singing competition so that she can be in a K-pop group. Sky is trying to win this competition so she can get the package that will help her become a K-pop star, and she is doing it in defiance of the fact that the standard for K-pop beauty is to be super, super skinny, and Sky is plus size. This was the cutest thing I have read since I read Alex Approximately. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I thought it was really fast and snappy as far as the plot goes, but it also still it's mostly centered on the competition that Sky is in. However, it does still give you, it points at her life outside. Obviously, the competition is the main part of the plot, but we still get snippets of what her life is outside of this really unusual event in her life. I loved Sky's self-acceptance of herself. I just, like, it was so heartwarming, and to see her still struggle with it made me feel better about how I struggle with my insecurity, because, like, insecurity is not something that goes away. It's something you're always going to feel, and this was just a good reminder of it. I found myself identifying with Sky a lot. We are in different situations, but we do also have things that people look at and judge us by our appearance. In a lot of how she was dealing or having insecurity come into her life, a lot of the things that she was thinking about her body, I have myself thought about my skin. It was interesting to see how, like, having a skin condition and also being fat could have similar ways they intersect, and me sitting there going, oh, that I do that too. Like, thinking about, like, I think the one that really stood out to me is how you really, when you're in public spaces, you are constantly having to fight the urge to assume people are thinking the worst of you because of something about how you look. I'm better at it now, but it still gets to me. I'm still self-conscious about it, and seeing, you know, I wish I'd had books where you get to see people struggle with stuff like that. I think maybe I'd be in a healthier place if I had books where they struggle, but they also are like, nope, I'm perfect the way I am. I also really liked the romance. I thought it was cute. I thought it was fun. It was sweet. And it wasn't like this big, like, be-all, end-all type thing. I think YA gets criticized for that, and in fantasy, that's kind of what I want, but this was contemporary, and so I really appreciated that it was kind of in there, and it was balanced, but it wasn't the main focus of the book. It was a side plot. It was something that happens to Sky and something that she gets to enjoy, but it wasn't, like, everything that she was trying to go for. I highly recommend this book, y'all. If you're looking for a book that's just gonna make you happy and excited and also grab you, because I sat for an hour in my car, mind you. I didn't even get out of the car because I was trying to finish this book. Also, can we appreciate that it has, like, the cutest cover ever? Look at that. It's just so fun and bright and happy. Right, the next book we gotta talk about is the book that blew me away the most this month. Like, I seriously just, man, y'all, and that was Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. Legendborn is a YA fantasy following Bree. Bree is dealing with the fact that her mother has just recently died, so she is working through grief while also being a part of an early enrollment program at a very prestigious college. She ends up seeing some magical shenanigans that go on and getting drawn into this secret society called the Legendborn that is all invested or intertwined with Arthurian legend that has been brought to the present day. This was the book of the month for Avengers, for the Avengers Initiative Reading Challenge. Can't remember my own reading challenge. So I just absolutely adored this book. From start to finish, I was just in it. I was ready for it. I got in it because I was invested in Bree, because she just, you feel so bad for her, and then as you go, you get more invested in the world building, in the magic system, and what's going on, in the mysteries that are happening, and everything that's cropping up, and it was really, 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 really fun for me to read. It was good. It was one of those books that you sit down and you go, are you sure this is your first book? This cannot have been Tracy Deonn's, like, it's her debut, but she either was working on this for years and years and years, or this is not the first book she's written, because she does such a good job balancing the plot, balancing the magic system, balancing the characters. This is not one that you look at and you go, oh, this is a debut. There are books you can read and be like, this is definitely a debut. This was one that I sat down and I was like, yes, you are doing what other books have tried to do, and you're doing it better, ma'am. So just, there's so much that you could unpack in that sentence, but, like, this was good. You need to read it. I have more thoughts, but just, like, the general thought is good. Read it, please. Also, I did not, like, this, I have never had this happen before, where we get to about an hour out, or no, 2 hours out, and I know that it's gonna end, and I know it's gonna end because it's the first of the series, so it's not gonna end in a way that's great. And I stopped reading it because I didn't want to finish it. I started this January 1st. I finished it yesterday, which was January 30th. And part of that is because audiobooks have not been working for me lately, and so there is that. But part of that was because I was just like, but if I finish it, there is no next book. I need the next book, guys. I need the next book. My favorite thing of this is the twist at the end. because that, like, takes everything you're expecting, because this is based on Arthurian legend, so it takes everything you're expecting from the Arthurian legend, and it just flips it on its head. I cannot tell you what that twist was. It is not the one that has to do with Bree, because that one I saw coming like a mile. I was like, it's either this or it's this, and so it ended up being this. So I saw that one. That one was obviously going to happen. It was one of, or at least one of the possibilities that should have happened. I never in my life saw the other twist coming that happens right after Bree's twist, and I was like, the brilliance of doing that and taking everything and just flipping it on its head. Like, that is, who would think to do that? Retelling Arthurian legend, who would think of that? I'm fine. This was me during the live show when we were talking about this book, was just me like, my mind is blown. I loved the magic system that she used, and I love the fact that it is not like, so you'll have a lot of the time, like, you'll have a magic system, and that's the magic system of this world. One of the really nice things that Tracy Deonn does, and it feeds into the narrative, it feeds into the characters, or it's a part of a narrative in the character. I like the fact that this magic system that she is involved in has different names depending on what group you talk to. I thought that was really, really realistic. I thought that was a really good, interesting touch to add to that, because a lot of the time you'll have this huge overarching magic system and everyone refers to it the same way and everyone uses it the same way, and that's not the case in here. She really thought this through, and part of the reason that she thought this through is because she does a really good job of taking this magic system and not making it different or apart from the real world. A lot of the time when you have magic systems in books, or books where they've got this secret magic world, this is very much like, you can think of like Harry Potter, how you have that secret magic world, and the racism or the prejudices that you will see on the outside world, if they are reflected on this magical world, they are specific to the magical world. And one of the really interesting and good things that Tracy Deonn does is she's like, no, our world is going to influence this really exclusive magic system. It's not going to be the other way around. It's our world influencing them. The things, the prejudices, the historical things that have happened in our world, they influence that, but this is not apart from it. It's so obvious that she has personal experience with how racism, with how other prejudices affect everything about the rest of the systems that are around you. I don't know if that makes any sense. I just appreciated the fact that this magic system, this magical world, was not removed from the faults of the regular world. That's what I'm trying to say. One of the other things that I really liked is it really gets into Bree's experience with grief, and it gets into how I've heard other people talk about the way the rest of the world expects you to move on after something tragic has happened. Bree deals with PTSD, she deals with depression, she's dealing with the fact that she's having to be normal and her regular self for everyone, while on the inside she's still very much impacted by her mother's death. And the fact that she's looking for answers and all, this is one of those things that you can't separate elements of it out and not talk about other elements of it, because everything is so intertwined, and I loved it. I will say I don't know how I feel about the romance, because it is a love triangle, and I know there are people in the group chat, they're like, yes, throuple, let's go, let's make it a triad, but there are dynamics between the two boys that I'm just like, I don't know if I'm comfortable with these two being in a relationship. Like, their dynamics to Bree I'm fine with for the most part, although one of them, he's gonna have to do some work in book 2 if he wants to redeem himself. I have a feeling that's not gonna happen just because of things, but I don't know how I feel about it, and it's really weird, because usually I'm definitely like team this or team that, and I'm team, I don't know how I feel. I need more information. So, final book that I've read in the month of January, you've already seen it once in this video, that is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. Shadow and Bone is the first book in a YA fantasy series. It follows Alina, who thinks that she is like normal, nothing special about her, until one day she reveals she has magical powers she had no idea about, and then it follows her trying to train and learn to use these powers and getting drawn into a lot of political intrigue and other stuff that's going on, and trying to figure out like how does she feel about stuff while also being in the middle of this whole huge conflict. I am going through and I am rereading all of the Shadow and Bone books. I am rereading the Six of Crows duology. I will also be rereading, or not rereading, I will actually be reading the King of Scars duology, the Nikolai duology. I'm doing it, or I started doing it as part of the Booked Kingdom read-along. I need to get caught up because I'm behind. I should have been through all 3 books this month, and I got through 1. In my defense, it is the prettiest one of the ones I own, and it has no Netflix stickers on it. I will be as bitter about the fact that they print stickers on covers as I am about the fact that Jason Rothenberg completely screwed up the final season of The 100. Just so we understand where things rank in my annoyance. So I feel like I liked this more upon reread than I did the first time. Like, I remember enjoying it, but being kind of let down, feeling it was a little lackluster. And I think that part of that is because I'm picking this up, or when I picked up Shadow and Bone the first time, it was shortly after having read or reread the Six of Crows duology, and that just is another level in fiction just generally. And I think I wasn't ready to let go of those characters, and so I was a lot of my disappointment might have had to do with the fact that this doesn't have those characters in it. I still do recommend reading Shadow and Bone first, and then reading Six of Crows if you're interested in this series, because there is a little bit of a jump in the writing quality, but it's not as much as I thought it was the first time. Like, the first time I remember feeling like it was very juvenile, and I think that was just because I've been reading a lot of third person, and then the first person was a jolt, and I wasn't ready for it. I've had that happen before, where I'll, like, sit down and try and read something first person after having done a lot of third person, and just be like, what? I don't understand. What? It doesn't work for me. I just enjoyed it and appreciated it so much more this second time around. I loved it. I just have questions about how people feel about certain characters and why they like certain characters and dislike other characters, because, like, yes, other characters are not the greatest. They're a little bland. They are, you know, kind of run-of-the-mill, average, mediocre, but, like, the certain character, like, y'all, there is straight up manipulation going on, and I'm not okay with it. I think that Leigh Bardugo does a good job of world building, and she does a good job of coming up with magic systems that are like, it's something that's familiar, but also new and different. So, like, this, yeah, that's it. I think it was good. I enjoyed it. I can't wait to read books 2 and 3, and see how I feel about all of the characters at the end of this series. I mean, we're gonna be honest, Nikolai is the true winner in this series. Unfortunately, he is. And then, yeah. Although I do have to say, this time around, Alina is coming up as a much stronger character, and I am loving her. I am loving her because despite the fact that she has so much insecurity, she also, this is a book about her figuring out her worth and her learning to let go of what other people think about her and being like, no, but I want to do what's right for me. I want to do what what I want does not have to be. Yeah, she just, as a very mediocre girl, I feel for her, and I feel very happy to have a mediocre main character. Although, I mean, she's not mediocre, but, like, that's how she feels. All right, so no books were harmed in the making of this video. So that's what I read in the month of January. Like I said, it was a really good reading month, and I'm really happy with what I read. I've definitely picked up steam from the beginning of the month towards the end of the month. I'm, like, ready to read books now, and that's good because I want to read books. And when I'm not reading books, I'm a sad person. I'm just sad about everything in general. Yes. So, anyways, if you are feeling chatty, please let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books, what you thought of them. I just like talking with people about books, so if you want to talk about books with me. If you are not feeling chatty and you want to let me know that you watched to the end of the video, give me an eagle emoji, because the last book we talked about was Shadow and Bone. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, there will be videos over here that you can watch if you would like to see more of what I do on my channel, or if you've missed some of these, who knows? Who knows? That is it for now, my friends. Happy reading, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!